Simple rhetoric is for simple minds, and the political scene doesn't need any more dumb people in it. The alt-centre are clown world's good guys. They outright reject political fanaticism on account that it ignores the human will to avoid suffering. So they don't fit into boxes neatly enough to be someone else's tools. Well, good evening, Internet. It's Bob and Vince back again with That Was the Week That Was, and this is week 3. Hey, Vince.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you. Pretty good. We're really getting summery now.
Yeah, that's right. G'day, Internet. I hope you're enjoying the summer if you're down south in New Zealand.
Cool. Okay, yes, lots of interesting things have happened this week in New Zealand. And the first one, the biggest one of all, was Jacinda, all of a sudden, out of the blue, resigned. And there are one group of people who are absolutely delighted that she's gone, and another group of people who are in deep mourning.
As an alt-centrist, I just find this more funny than anything else. I enjoy seeing the people who really thought that Jacinda Ardern had been personally responsible for all of the difficulties in New Zealand over the last 5 years. A lot of people don't seem to be aware that there's a world outside of New Zealand, and in that world, everybody else was having a hard time as well. So there's not really so much that Ardern could have done about it. But I also laugh at the people who think that she was really the greatest thing that had ever happened to New Zealand and was particularly empathetic in all of these other media lies. I think she was just another careerist politician. She came in, did as little as she could to keep her position. Now she's gone. I think Chris Hipkins will be decent, but Jacinda Ardern, really, I just find it funny the way that people react. They don't seem to understand that she's just a representative of a globalist establishment, and very little is going to change.
Yeah, it's just round and round, swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
It is. You see that Jacinda Ardern didn't actually change really anything at all from when John Key was in power.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think much is going to change if Chris Luxon gets in either.
Mm. Luxon says that with or without Ardern, New Zealand is facing a lot of pain. And then, checking out on, what's his name, Hipkiss, I found this sweet little article here that says, an Upper Hutt boy gets to be Prime Minister. And I thought, good on you, dude. So that's going to be an interesting showdown. What do you think we can expect from those two?
I think we can expect that Chris Hipkins is going to be a lot more interested in the position than what Ardern was. You could see that Jacinda Ardern hadn't been seen in the public eye since Christmas, so she really did just run out of energy for the job. But Hipkins, you can see in the interviews that he's done so far, he still has a good sense of humour. He's energetic, he's enthusiastic, so I think he'll have a much better chance of beating Chris Luxon in the election this year than what Ardern would have had. I think also it's a good move in the sense that a lot of people, as I mentioned before, seem to have personally blamed Ardern for the troubles of New Zealand. And I think that Hipkins will give them a fresh appearance that won't carry with it so much of the same baggage that Ardern had built up. But having said that, there's a lot of people out there who just don't like Labour at all. And I think a lot of them will be voting for Luxon in the expectation that he will make everybody wealthy again.
National are saying that everything was wonderful when John Key was in power, and so if we vote Chris Luxon in, then everything will go back to being just that wonderful. But like I mentioned previously,
the whole world is having economic difficulties now, especially since the COVID pandemic and the mass money printing that went with that. All the central banks all around the world printed heaps of money. The New Zealand Central Bank printed $60 billion. And the inflation from that now, we're really feeling the inflationary effects. Food inflation was 11%. So I think things are going to get a lot tougher no matter who wins the election this year.
Well, Vince, I have this article here that says that, it says there's no paywall. How irritating. It says that food prices soar by more than 11%. Fruit and vegetables are up 23%. There's been a 32-year high jump in the price of food, according to new figures out from Stats NZ. Then I found this one from Japan, saying Japan's consumer price index rises the most in 40 years. And then, lo and blow me down, if I didn't come across this article, where this fellow says he's the Cloudflare CEO, and he says the economic optimism at Davos is bizarre and a prolonged downturn is more likely. Well, I was blown away. They go to Davos and they're optimistic. And we've got 11% food prices. Am I on the wrong planet or something?
Just goes to show how out of touch the globalist elites are. John Kerry, I heard him speaking at Davos. He said that it feels like they've been chosen by extraterrestrials to save the human race. So I think these people are really starting to lose touch with reality badly. I think they've been telling each other lies for so long, and they are now so far removed from the average working person that they don't really actually know what's going on anymore. I think you saw at Davos, you saw the world's elites fly there in private jets, mostly thousands of them from all around the planet, and they don't seem to really appreciate the situation that we have with hydrocarbons and the petrochemicals that are starting to become a lot more expensive. You saw that reflected in the fertilizer prices, which are one of the main reasons why the food inflation has been so high, because that's worldwide, not only New Zealand and Japan, but you also saw that America and Britain have had record or near record food inflation as well. So I don't think that the elites in Davos really have much of a grip of what's going on, but there's not much that the rest of us can do about it because they have all the money and power.
This is it. Yep, they have everything. Yeah, well, it is really, really interesting. I think that, okay, I've got another thing here. I was going to make a comment, but I think that I'll just talk about this. This is an article, probably a news thing, that was talking about Google laying off 12,000 staff. This fella came on their show and made a whole lot of comments about how during COVID, everybody was locked down and everybody thought that there was going to be this big, big need for more staff online. And so there was massive hiring by these big tech platforms. And now they're saying, well, it hasn't turned out. Everybody's gone back to work. We have to lay off these people. But somebody else on the show said, oh, wow, look what ChatGPT just did. Do you think that ChatGPT has really shown Google up?
Yes, to some extent, but what also has to be borne in mind is that Amazon is laying off many workers. They're laying off 10,000. Facebook is laying off, I think it was 6,000, perhaps 8,000. And Twitter is also laying off thousands. So it's not just Google that's being affected, but the whole mainstream technology industry. ChatGPT is going to be enormously disruptive. And I know that just from the small amount of playing around that I've done with it already, it's going to make a lot of people redundant. And there's no getting around that. A lot of knowledge workers are going to become redundant. A lot of white collar, normally intellectual workers are going to find that their jobs can be more or less replaced by artificial intelligence. So what I expect to see happening soon is a renewed push for universal basic income or a form of citizens' dividend, because I think that the degree to which technology is making people unemployed, that has been taken care of in recent decades by new jobs appearing. But I think that this process has reached an end, and now we're going to start seeing more acute unemployment. And I think that out of a fear of another Great Depression, the ruling powers are going to have some serious thoughts about a universal basic income.
I think that will be really, really interesting as an experiment. I think that when people no longer have to work for a living, there will be a huge boom in creativity and creative thought and networking, and all sorts of good spin-offs could come from it.
I think one of the major benefits as well to me is if you look at all the people who are currently engaged in basically just ripping each other off in order to make a living, you've got a lot of jobs out there that don't need to be done. They're really, you could even say they were parasitic in the sense that they gain an income without actually producing anything of value at all. So I think the real bonus of a universal basic income for me would be that a lot of really just scummy exploitative jobs would no longer be forced to exist on account of that a person needs to eat. They need an income to meet their physical needs. So a citizen's dividend would obviate the need for people to do that, which I think people will still do it because they'll be greedy. They'll want more and more, but there'll be less of an imperative to do that.
Yeah, that is going to be good. So look, we've got a really good theme tonight going because we have got these out of touch, what you call them? Elite.
I call them the ruling class because there's not actually much elite about them other than the fact that they've mostly inherited position money.
Yes.
But in terms of individual qualities, they're not particularly elite.
No, they're not.
They are in charge, so I call them the ruling class.
Yeah, good words. So they are degenerate and disgusting. And this is just prostitutes gather in Davos for the annual meeting of the global elite, it says. The global decadent and disgusting and debauched, I would say.
I've noticed that every time there's a large political gathering in any city, it attracts a great number of prostitutes. In America, it's known that the American prostitutes never make more money than when the Republican Party has their annual convention and when the Democratic Party has their annual convention. That's the big payday for the hookers of America, who all make sure that they're in the city where the convention is taking place. It's no different to Davos because these people are flying there. Not only do they feel like they're the kings of the world already, but they've got all the money. I was reading about how in Davos, there's a lot of prostitutes there who charge $2,500 a night. That'll be chicken feed to many people in the World Economic Forum higher echelons who are there at Davos. So, yeah, it really is incredibly debauched. It's almost like Berlin during the Weimar era. But that's what politics is in the Kali Yuga that we're living through.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's amazing because you're like, everywhere you look, there it is, right in your face. Oh.
Yeah, well, it's getting really bad now, but I think that there still aren't that many. There isn't that much in the way of revolutionary sentiments right now, but I expect those to increase given the difficulties of this year. Everybody is saying that this year is going to be particularly hard. I think Chris Luxton wasn't wrong when he said we're going to have a lot of economic difficulties. Everybody's predicting it. And that's also the reason, I think, for the major reason for the layoffs is because the big tech companies are wanting to remain slim and efficient during what they anticipate to be a difficult year. So I think we're going to see a lot of new political energies rise up by the end of this year. I think it'll change the debate in the mainstream consciousness to a considerable degree.
Well, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting, no doubt about that.
Well, Vince, we did it again. That was the week that was.
Yeah, cheers, Bob, and cheers, Internet, and I'll catch you again next week.
Alt-centrism is more a matter of wisdom than intelligence. As such, it does not attract followers on the basis of education or ideological fashionability.